Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Filthy Rich with Story. I'm your host, Hannah, and today I am mixing things up because I wanted to break down a really interesting month for me. January to February saw a 76% increase in revenue, nearly double. Holy cow. Despite February being a shorter month. And I wanted to take a moment to talk about the mindset work that went behind it because, oof, there was so much. I feel like I always see people celebrating the big cash wins and the moves they made behind the scenes to make it happen. This isn't going to be that because I can tell you exactly what moves I've made. I sold more. That's literally it. But this success is way more than just the moves that I made. It was how I made them that truly changed the game for me, and I'm going to continue to do going into March. For context, I want to give you some backstory of where I was 3 years ago when I nearly destroyed my business due to comparison and a lot of other things. It's been a while since I've told this story, and so I want to go into it deeply because I think the context really matters for this celebration of having such an incredible February in 2026. In 3 years ago, when I nearly destroyed my business, I had a couple of launches that really did not go as planned, and it tanked my self-esteem. I started to question if I had what it took, if I was old news, if I didn't look a certain way or act a certain way, and that's why people weren't signing on for me. Literally, my nervous system was a wreck, and the self-doubt was all over the place. I was doubting literally everything. And I was pouring out a lot, to be honest, too much money into coaches for validation. I was high. If you are going to hire a coach, and you should, hire coaches for expansion, not validation. I do not recommend that. But I was hiring coaches of like, is my content good? And they're like, yeah, your content good. So I'm like, so what the heck is the problem? And I would use this feedback to only intensify that self doubt that I was feeling, where I was like, well, am I not good enough? Am I old news? Is it the way I look? Whatever. Like the coaches were telling me my content was good, my strategy was good. So I made that mean that it was a me problem. And I totally lost myself, if I'm being honest. Like we're getting really vulnerable in the first 3 minutes of this podcast episode. So I knew that this was a problem. I knew I didn't feel good. I knew that my business didn't feel good. I knew that I didn't feel safe and consistent and sustainable making money in my business anymore. And so I put myself in timeout and I cut myself off from social media scrolling for 3 months over the summer of 2023. I made a real effort into rediscovering, like using that time where I wasn't scrolling to rediscover my love for my business, my clients, and why I do what I do. I just want to be clear that in this season of self doubt and spiraling and all the things I just talked about, I had client results. It wasn't that I didn't have any proof that my work was good. I had pages and pages of client results, but I was self-sabotaging myself. I was talking myself out of my greatness and how good I am with clients, etc. So I had to refine that. And I'm really grateful that I treated that summer like I wasn't launching anything. I wasn't really selling anything. I was just focused on me, my business. I had a handful of clients at the time, so I was serving them and really getting clear on why I do what I do and why I love it. I started showing up and treating my content during that time like it was a journal. I stopped creating content to prove myself, and I started tapping into my generator human design type and actually responding to my audience. And I know that sounds like, duh, Hannah, you talk about that all the time now, but it's like sometimes you don't realize how you are leaning on your content to prove your worth. And I truly was that. I was again telling myself these spiraling narratives of, oh, if my post doesn't do well, then that means I am not good enough. And there was a big old nervous system gap that was happening. And I hope my vulnerability helps you feel like you're not alone in this, because I'm sure I'm not the only person who has felt this way. And it was rough. It was so rough. But that summer off where I was, not trying to hit any sales goals. I wasn't even in any coaching programs at that time. I had, like I said, one or two clients that I was working with, but I really wasn't. I was in like a sustaining mode, not in a growing mode. And that time off, if you want to count it as off, helped me so much. So I started responding to my audience, and in that, I treated them like they were the main character, and that paid off big time. 6 months after I did my social media experiment, I got my spark back. I fell back in love with my business and what I do, and I celebrated selling out a new offer in 48 hours. But here we are nearly 3 years later, and I feel like I've had another big breakthrough. And I want to take you behind the scenes of it so that you don't feel like you're so alone in your messy growth and you can learn from it. So in January 2026 to February 2026, I saw a 76% increase in my revenue. And I want to break down the very specific things that I did to make that happen behind the scenes. And like I said, most of this is not going to be the actions that I took, but really how I held myself as a leader behind the scenes. And to kick it off, I want to talk about how I got really honest with myself. I kept a habit tracker. I actually purchased an app that had a habit tracker in it that tracks a couple of things for me. It tracks my daily movement goal, my water intake, the upkeep of my house, the cleanliness, and if I sold my offer or not. And the reason why I made this move into purchasing a habit tracker, and honestly, it was not that much money. It was maybe $10. So I really recommend you doing this as well. But I did this was because I've often found myself, because every single month I would go back through my data and I would be like, okay, how many times did I sell this month? Which post did the best? Which sales sequences on Instagram stories did the best? What got the most link clicks, etc. Every time I did this at the end of the month, I would go back through my stories and be like, oh, I really didn't sell my offer as much as I thought I did. And I would literally tell myself oh yeah, I've been selling my offer. I've been doing it. And then when I actually went and looked, I was not. And I would physically count how many days of the month did I sell my offer. And I was not happy with that number time and time again. So I knew I had to change something about this. So what I did instead was I bought this habit tracker, and it lives on my phone. And every single day it reminds me, how much water have you had? Have you worked out? Have you cleaned one room of your house? And have you sold your offer or not? And literally, it gives me such a dopamine hit to check them off, because it does a little woohoo celebration every single time I do. But in addition to that, I get to see that on a daily and a weekly and a monthly basis. It's literally a widget on my phone. And so I can see, okay, I sold my offer 5 out of 7 days this week. And I can see all the white space on my tracker where I did not follow through with my goals. And so, as much as I'd like to say that I found some secret strategy, to 75% of the discipline was to actually act on what I said I wanted for myself and put those actions first. Because, you are your best gaslighter. You're going to tell yourself, oh, I'm doing all the things. Oh, I'm selling. And really, it's been a month since you've sent your newsletter and sold in your email list. It's the selling, quote unquote, you've been doing is just slapping a CTA at the end of your post and calling it a day, when you need to be doing much more than that. And it's those little sneaky habits that you need to break and be truthful with yourself to actually see results. So it was a lot of discipline to actually say what I wanted to do, to actually do what I wanted to do, and follow through on that. And so if having a habit tracker is what you need to do to achieve that, do it. That's what I needed to do. I also hit pause on what wasn't working. So to go back I got really honest with myself. I stopped selling my accelerator program after the last round of it, not because I don't love that program, I do, but because the feedback I was getting from people is that they were craving more one-on-one. And for a while, I was just like, oh, well, I will add one-on-one into the accelerator and force it to work, because I was so afraid to stop selling my signature offer, right? I had put so much work, so much time, so much effort into that offer that I was afraid to let it go. And it's so crazy because the day I took the sales page off of my website, so I had a little button that says go to the accelerator. The day I took it down, I didn't delete it. The offer's not gone for good. It's just, hidden from my website right now. But the day I took it down and committed to launching my sales execution lab instead, which is a private 14-day container where we diagnose what's wrong with your sales content. We craft a marketing plan for you to follow through on your sales goal, and then I help you implement it. When I launched that program, I literally signed a long-term one-on-one client, which is $7,000 in the bank that day. No sign taken. I saw that message was loud and clear for me. So where do you need to get honest with yourself? Where are you cutting corners? Where are you talking yourself out of things? Not selling every day because you think your audience doesn't like it. Oh, your views go down because you sell every day. Those little nagging behaviors are chipping away at your sales. It's chipping away at your growth and your leadership, and it's taking you out of the driver's seat. So get honest with yourself. Do the same thing that I do, and actually measure how often you're talking about your offers, how often you're having sales conversations, how often you are selling your offer. Because at the end of the month, I bet you it's not as much as you want it to be. Okay, the next thing, and I think this goes so well with what I just talked about, is conviction. I started betting on myself again. And note that in that story that I told at the beginning of this podcast episode, I talked about how what I lost was my conviction. I lost the confidence I had in myself, and that ruined my sales. So I started betting on myself again. I made audacious moves, like pitching to be a headline speaker at a women's event locally while nearly naked in a sauna, which led to me being hired to speak to an entire realty firm about my storytelling approach to social media strategy. And that also led to, of course, clients signed. Instead of looking for the faults in my strategy or what I was doing wrong, right? How many of you are desperate to figure out what you're doing wrong? I bet you a lot of you. But instead of doing that, I started looking for confirmation every day for every way that I was winning. So I stopped looking for faults and I started focusing on the wins, even if it was super small. My post, for example, my YouTube channel. If anyone has started a YouTube channel, you understand how hard it is to grow. I had a video go from 6 views to 24 views. And I was like, holy cow, this is the best thing in the world. I started looking for little micro details of when I was winning. I also started reading my client testimonials on a near daily basis because I knew when I felt good about myself, when I had the truth that I get my clients really great results, I change their lives, my content is different, my energy is different, the way I talk about my offers is different. So I started doing that on a near daily basis. And I knew that a huge part of my sales issue was that I doubted if I could get people results. And so I worked my ass off to refine my offers and feel so confident in them. And as of right now, I'm actually raising the rates for my sales execution lab from $697, which is severely undercharging, to $1,200 because the last 5 people who have gone through this have seen a result in a week Like, what? Who can say that about their offer? So I am now like, my offers are so dialed in for the success of my clients that there is no room for self-doubt. I have set it up so that it's like almost guaranteed. Like, I don't guarantee results, but if you do what I say that you should be doing, 9 out of 10 of my clients see results. And I have lists and lists and lists of client case studies that you can read through if you don't believe me. Okay, so that was conviction. And even just talking about my offers right there, I feel like my conviction was so much stronger than it was 3 years ago. The next thing that I did differently was I started seeing my time as more valuable than money. And a big part of that was completely breaking my addiction, because let's be honest, that's what it was, to social media. Now, this is not easy. This is hard. This was something that was extremely hard for me, and it's still a work in progress because I am a marketing strategist. My job is social media. My job is to be on screens. I am literally reviewing my clients' content on a weekly basis. I am creating content for my own business every single day. I am literally on Instagram every single day. So I knew that if I wanted to break this addiction, because I knew how terrible it made me feel, I had to take out the big guns. And so the way I did that was I set up a really strict screen blocker that turns on at noon, and it goes until midnight for all social media on my phone. And when I mean strict, because I used to just use the iPhone feature where it would be like, oh, you've hit your time limit. But it was so easy just to be like, go anyways. I'll disable that and go anyways. And so what I had to do instead was I use the app Screen Zen. I am not sponsored in any way, but my app Screen Zen, the way it works is I set up a block for social media apps, and it automatically turns on at noon. And the page that comes up when you go to try to go onto Instagram, for example, you can customize the message. So what I wrote was, you promised Richard, my husband, that you promised Richard that you wouldn't go on. I don't even remember what it says, but it's something like, you promised Richard, it doesn't make you feel good, stop it. Something like that. In addition to that message, because now every time I open up an app to doom scroll or whatever, I see my husband's name and I love my husband. And so I want to, do this for him because I want to be more present in our relationship. I want to be happier. And I know if I'm doom scrolling, I'm miserable. So now it's not just about me, it's about him as well. But in addition to that, because we have to really fight this, is I have it set so if I want to disable it, I only allow myself to disable it for Instagram, because sometimes I want to post a story at the end of the day, and you can't really post a story from a desktop. You really can't. So for Instagram in particular, I have it set to, it will disable for 20 minutes at a time, but you have to wait 20 seconds for it to unlock. So that means I'm not going to wait 20 seconds to doom scroll. And let's say I do wait 20 seconds to doom scroll, it's going to lock me out after 20 minutes, and then it's done for the day. I can't go back on. For my other apps, I don't give myself that at all. So it's blocked. There's nothing I can do about it. And the third level, I think it's just the third. Richard know that. And then, so the third level of this is the app itself, Screen Zen. You can set a time limit. So if you want to go and change the settings, you can completely lock yourself out of that. And the only way you can unlock it is by donating money to a charity. And so I actually had to do this today because I work out to YouTube videos and it was afternoon, and I was like, shoot, I need a YouTube video to work out to, but I locked myself out of YouTube. So I actually don't have it set up to, I have to pay, but I do have it set up that I have to wait 10 minutes for it to unlock the settings. And so I was just sitting for 10 minutes Is this a smart idea? I don't know. But I was sitting for 10 minutes for it to unlock my YouTube video. um, but that's what you got to do to break your addiction. And I highly recommend it. And I know what people are like, okay, but how do you get work done for your business? You're a marketing specialist, Hannah. You have to be on Instagram at all times. I actually have a YouTube podcast episode that I'm working on that's going to come out very soon on this, where I break down my marketing system that has allowed me to get off my phone. So besides this screen blocker, I have put in systems in my business so that I don't have to be on Instagram all the time. I don't have to be on my computer for 6 hours a day to sign clients. My content gets scheduled for the week. All I need to do is post it and post on my stories, which takes me maybe 30 minutes in the morning. And this has solved all of my comparison issues, my self-doubt because of that. And I honestly feel so much better. So if you struggle with doom scrolling, I highly recommend doing this, especially if you have an online business, because that people say, oh, comparison is the theft of happiness. Holy cow, it really is. And you don't realize that until you're on the other side. Okay, so far we've talked about getting really honest with myself. We talked about conviction, and we talked about seeing my time as more valuable than money, and, cutting out a huge time suck, which was doom scrolling. Now I want to talk about, those were like the three main things, but I want to talk about how you're going to be tested when you go through growth like this. And I feel like I probably sat in my husband's arms at least once a week crying my eyes out because the old me was clawing her way back in and I had to tell her no. So there's a couple of instances in February that was so obvious, my old patterns coming back. And it was like the universe being like, here is the old you. Do you want to fall back into those patterns, or are you ready to up level? And I literally had to say, no, I want to up level in every single instance. And that sounds very dramatic, but journaling and stuff, looking back on my journal from the month, that's literally how it felt. So there's a couple of instances that I want to break down for you so that you can get an understanding of what I mean by this. The first one is that I had a sales call that I felt like I didn't go very well. I got knocked off my track a couple of times, and I also was having my period, and so many things were happening. And anyways, the feelings of self-doubt came crashing back in. And I felt like I needed to over-deliver on value. I felt like I had to course correct. I had to be a perfectionist. And instead of just sitting with it and accepting either they're going to say no or yes. And I was crying. I'm not kidding when I say all these points really messed with me. I was so down on myself, and I had to lead myself through this and be like, okay, they're either going to say no or they're going to say yes, or they're going to say no, not right now, and maybe later they're going to come on. And at the end of the day, it's just one person. I literally had to gentle parent myself and hold my inner child and be like, it's just one person. Girl, you're having 10 sales conversations a week right now with potential people. Your sales is through the roof. One person is not going to change that, okay? The second instance I had is I had it was a sales conversation with someone in the DMs, and she told me she had to wait for a client payment to come in. And guys, the way I spiraled, holy cow. For maybe 10 seconds, I was like, oh, she doesn't see the value in this. Oh, I shouldn't have pitched her. Now she's annoyed at me, yada, yada. And then I pulled up my big girl pants and asked her when she was going to think the payment would come in. I just called her on her bluff. Well, I thought she was bluffing. And she was like, oh, no, I kid you not. She said, the payment will come in tomorrow. LOL. Holy cow. The spiral that happened for 10 seconds and it didn't have to happen. The third big cry moment that I had in February was towards the end of the month, where I was battling this, this is too good to be true thought spiral. Again, bless Richard, my husband, because he worked overtime as my second therapist. Good Lord. But, he talked me through it. He was like, it's not too good to be true. Like, you've worked so hard for this. This is like well deserved. You're getting your clients results, all these things. Like, it was crazy. And again, a part of me I had to let go of, a part of me that was anxious and, so had self-doubt and didn't believe in myself. I had to be like, okay, it's fine. We are safe. And I actually am working on a post about this, which will probably be posted by the time I post this podcast episode. But these are all things I've heard other people say before. To believe in yourself, to be convicted, to be obsessed with your offers, etc. And I really don't think it's truly sunk in until now. Like, I totally have had the, oh, I get it now moment, which is why I think having a mentor who's with you long term, like 6 months plus, a year, several years, someone who's with you long term, who can hold up the mirror, see you where you are in your journey, and offer guidance and tough love and call you out on your BS is so, so crucial to your long-term success. An example of this is one of my clients recently just signed a one-on-one client who she thought was a total loss because she thought that the funny thing happened was my automation, when she signed on to like renew her contract, accidentally sent all of my emails that I had scheduled. It's supposed to be scheduled over weeks and months. And we had a little laugh about this, and she was like, oh my God, like, it's so refreshing to see someone like you make a mistake like this, because I made a mistake like this too, where I accidentally sent a draft email to a potential client and she ghosted me. Even though I apologized profusely, she ghosted me. And I was like, wait a damn minute. I need you to go back and follow up with that client, because I think you're playing small. I don't think she's actually mad about a draft email being sent by accident, especially if you apologize for that. I think she's probably busy. She probably has things going on in her life and she just completely forgot. So you need to go follow up with her. And so she just told me a few days ago, she was like, I followed up with that person and she was like, yeah, I'm in, sign me up. I'm ready to pay for her highest ticketed program. And it's just, that's the power of having a mentor who knows you, who knows your patterns, who can be like, you are playing small, you're self-doubting yourself when you're actually incredible. Like, sometimes you need that hype person that isn't you or your bestie or your partner. You need someone who is in the game with you and is like, no, you're good at this. And they challenge you anyways. If you're looking for a partnership like that, you're done with the sprint and crash cycle each month of like, oh my God, am I going to be able to sign my clients enough to pay my bills, etc. And you want to build out long-term reliable income, I actually have a few spots opening up to work with me one-on-one. I'm not just giving you a plan, okay? I just talked so much about how the plan was selling your offer every single day. The plan was being convicted in myself and having the discipline to show up and do that every single day. The real work was that inner work that I had to go through, the understanding of who my dream clients were, how to talk to them in a way that made them feel seen, how to connect with them, how to show them the value in my work. And that stuff is not stuff that I can just give you like a copy and paste template. You need a strategic partner for this. And when you work with me one-on-one, I'm your strategic partner for 6 months. I also am writing your content. Literally 10 posts are on me. I'm writing them for you as a little March bonus. When you sign on by March 31st, I am going to write 10 posts that will be designed to sell your offer for you. So if you don't know what to post, or if you're going on vacation, I've got you covered. But I'm also auditing your leadership. I'm holding the vision for your $500,000 year. When you're having a shy girl week, I am there to stop it and snap you out of it.
So if you're really craving a person to have on your team like that, DM me a partner and let's see if you're ready for the long game. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I got really vulnerable with y'all. And so if you liked this, if you felt like, wow, I'm so glad you said all this stuff, I'm going through this too, please send me a DM, because I got vulnerable. And, to be honest, to add another layer of honesty, my brain's like, oh no, if I'm this vulnerable, people are not going to take me seriously. So if you liked this, please tell me so I can do more of this stuff. So I can let you in on more behind the scenes of the big sales months that I'm having, the big decisions, the big leadership moments. And I do this podcast for you guys. So I want to make sure that you get the most out of it. So with that, send me a DM. Make sure you like this. Make sure you leave a review. That helps me so much. Send it to a business friend. Send it to a friend that you think needs to hear this story. And I will see you all next time.